Okay, well, yesterday we had a mass meeting with workers from the Walter Sisulu University of Technology, particularly currently outsourced workers, the cleaning services, security services, gardening and landscaping, and catering services. The purpose of the meeting was to at least chart a way forward in the advancement of the struggle for them to be insourced and be permanently employed by the university on a minimum wage of 10,000 rand and get to enjoy all other benefits that are enjoyed by the academic staff of the university and get access to other services as given by the Labor Relations Act and the Basic Condition of Employment Act. And the meeting was relatively successful because quite a number of workers turned in. It came out in the meeting that Walter Sisulu University of Technology wants to continue with the super exploitation of those workers. They've since advertised tenders for service providers to tender, meaning that they are not committing in any way into the insourcing of these workers, making them permanent workers. They want them to continue to be employed by all these greedy service providers. We, however, took three resolutions in the meeting. One, the workers are going to write a petition to management to say the process of tender must be stopped until the matter of insourcing is discussed and resolved upon. Two, the student movements that were there, which were PASMA and the EFF Student Command, also committed that their members in the SRC will seek to it that all tender committees that on all tender committee meetings that are scheduled to sit, they are stopped until the issue of the workers has been taken. Three, we are considering taking a legal route to seek a court interdict to interdict the process of tender until the matter of insourcing is discussed and resolved upon. Those were three major resolutions taken in the meeting. They will be taken as well, these resolutions, to other campuses of Vusi for endorsement by other workers, so that it becomes not an East London or a BCC campus matter, but it becomes the entire Vusi matter. Workers themselves approached PASMA Vusi and said, we have been exploited for years, we need intervention, we need help. There is a man that we have seen on TV who's said to be a member of the organization. May you please call him over to come over and try to seek and give us advice. I therefore received a call from comrades of PASMA Vusi, say that workers are saying you must come to a meeting and they've been waiting for you since last year, you have been delaying, may you please come over. Then I took a decision of coming, which was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I met up with few workers wherein a decision was taken that there must be a mass meeting wherein more workers are brought in, hence the meeting of yesterday. It must be said that there has been a significant progress in terms of the struggle against outsourcing. We've seen the University of Fort Hare, securities have since been insourced. The process is ongoing there. Catering services not yet insourced and cleaning services, but the process is ongoing. It is finished in other universities. I can confirm that with the University of Pretoria, we are about to finish. Almost everyone is going to be insourced by the end of this year. University of South Africa, we are almost done as well. Everyone is going to be insourced. I can count plus minus 12 universities out of 24 in this particular country, wherein there has been a significant progress in terms of the insourcing of the workers. It is so saddening, though, that there are some universities like your Walter Sisulu University of Technology that are dragging their feet in this process. It is a clear national way forward that all universities must move towards the insourcing of these workers. So it's so saddening that you still have universities that drag their feet in this kind of manner that the Walter Sisulu is doing. I think it's important that we appeal to managers of that university and the nation at large to rally behind this call, to ensure that we end super exploitation of our brothers, sisters, our cousins, mothers and fathers that have been exploited for over 10 years in all these universities. Perhaps also to close down on the subject of insourcing and outsourcing. This should act as a lesson for those of us who are for justice, that it should not end with the universities. Everywhere else wherein we have seen these highly corrupt tender processes, where we have securities that are working for private companies, cleaning companies, be it in a hospital, be it in a clinic, be it in any public department, we should work towards ensuring that they get insourced and start working for the primary employer, be it government, be it municipality, be it a college, be it the Department of Justice, for that matter, for those in court. They must start working permanently for all this department. Anywhere else wherein there is this evil system of outsourcing, we must get out of our way to ensure that we end it. Well, the Fees Commission report, the Hehe Commission, for me it came with no major surprises. If you can remember very well, when the commission started, I did an interview with one or two mainstream media institutions, wherein I said I don't have confidence in that commission. I said it is so sad that in this country, whenever we have a crisis, we jump into a commission. I asked the question that which commission has ever yielded positive results for victims? The TRC, one example. Who benefited in the TRC? Were the perpetrators of crime or the victims? It was the perpetrators of crime. Marikana Commission. Who benefited in the Marikana Commission? Were the victims of the massacre or the perpetrators? The perpetrators. And I said, similar trends are going to happen with this so-called Fees Commission. People who are going to benefit are the very people who have been perpetuating the exploitation and the exclusion of students on the basis of fees. I feel very vindicated when the commission comes and say students must go and seek loans from private banks. NSFAS must be restructured in some form of a more liberal, a more free market kind of a loan, unlike the NSFAS. So we were correct. If I might use my own terminology, we were revolutionary prophets when we said that kind of a commission will not yield positive results. We must therefore reject it with contempt, and we say, as the demand had said initially, students deserve free education in this country. This country can afford free education. In fact, the wealth of this country is so much that we can afford free education not only for ourselves, but for the entire SADC region. So, well, we are not surprised by what came out of the Fees Commission. All we appeal for is that students must not lose hope, must gather strength, must mobilize more. The society must join in. The workers and the working class at large must join in. Our communities must join in. That piece of papers that are in the commission must just be thrown in the dustbin. That is where they belong. Yes. Let me start by saying we need to understand properly what we mean by colonization, and then what we seek to achieve by decolonization. Colonization, as Soboko will put it, especially the most recent one of the 16th century, was nothing but the expansion of colonial markets. It was nothing but a particular manifestation of imperialism and capitalism. You cannot speak colonization unless you speak decolonization, unless you speak the destruction of capitalism and imperialism. We cannot speak decolonization unless you speak rebuilding of an Africa that is free of colonial enchainment. Therefore, the decolonization of the curriculum stems exactly from there. That curriculum as taught today seeks to perpetuate the current status quo, which is the super exploitation of the African people, which is the super exploitation of the working class at large, feeding directly into a capitalist and imperialistic system. Decolonization for us will mean a system that is linked in its own fate and its philosophical outlook with a desire to end capitalism, to end imperialism, and build in an Africanist socialist democracy, as entrenched in the documents of the Pan-Africanist Congress. By that, we are striving for an education system that will not seek to produce out of our children super exploited labor force, but what seeks to produce out of our people citizens that are reached to empower and develop the community and the continent at large. For us, decolonial education means socialist education. All right. Well, first and foremost, by socialist education, we mean in pure monetary terms, it must be freely accessible to all citizens. Two, we mean that in terms of its outlook, economic outlook must be structured in a manner that seeks to deconstruct the society towards socialism. By a socialist education system, I mean, in short, a child must not be taught to be an entrepreneur for selfish reasons, must be taught to be a servant of the community to ensure that everyone lives with each other in harmony. Let me break it down much further. In the current education system, its economic outlook seeks to produce individuals filled with greed, filled with a desire for the self-enrichment. A desired socialist education seeks to produce individuals with a desire for a communal enrichment of the community and the citizen at large. When you go and study in a university, you go and study not for yourself as an individual to come back and be a doctor and a lawyer and be rich and go and stay in some rich suburbs. You go and study to come back and develop the society that brought you up. That is our concept of a socialist education system that seeks to develop and transform the society from the current super exploitative economic system to a communal saving socialist economic system. An acknowledgement must be made that the second wave of protest of Vusi Must Fall, which was the 2016 protest, left the movement bruised, left the movement with serious casualties. Our comrades were arrested, our comrades were beaten up, our comrades were rubber bulleted. As things stands, number of leading figures in the Vusi Must Fall are still undergoing trials as a result of the protest of 2016, which was a major blow to the strength of the movement itself. Where to from here I can answer that back to basics, back to mobilization, back to mass meeting, go and seek a fresh mandate from students, then take a step forward. Nothing will ever be achieved without a proper understanding by the masses themselves, because they are the ones that protest, not the leaders. They are the ones that must then therefore decide that in the midst of what is happening here, what then needs to be the next move. As for the activists themselves and revolutionaries themselves, their role is to play as catalysts. They must sharpen contradictions, they must go and conscientize the masses more. As if you can ask me what do I seek to see happening as an individual revolutionary, I will see as the year begins that we must resume with our protest actions. One, to ensure that we close down in the remaining 11 or 12 universities that have not insourced, that we ensure that we communicate very clearly to the government and the nation that we reject her commission's report. And as we had said, we are convinced that free education is possible and affordable and must be implemented now, not in our lifetime. We have since abandoned the phraseology and the concept of our lifetime because it is postponing our struggle indefinitely. When I'm 90, it will still be in my lifetime. But I don't think I want free education when I'm 90. I want it now. So we have since abandoned all those concepts and that seek to postpone indefinitely our struggle. Yes. So where to from here? Back to protest. Well, it has come also to our attention that the Law Society has since stripped some of our universities a right of offering an LLB degree. They are no longer accredited by the Law Society. Example being the Walter Sisulu University, University of Cape Town, among others, and the University of Limpopo. Others were given what I call a chance to go and review, that being the University of Forte, University of South Africa, and others, that they must go and review. And it's so disappointing. It speaks directly to the chaos in the education system in this country, that you can have an LLB degree that is offered in universities of this country. That is not the same. It simply means that the LLB degree in the University of Pretoria, for an example, it is more qualitative than an LLB degree in the University of Cape Town. Yet these students are expected to serve in the same courts. Perhaps this also fits in directly with our desire that the entire curriculum and education system needs to be restructured. LLB in this country should be LLB in this country in all universities. We need one curriculum, one structure, and one infrastructure, and it's so that they produce similar kind of graduates. What does this have to say to students that are currently enrolled for LLB? What does it say about those students that have just recently graduated their LLB degrees in this affected university? Does it mean that their qualifications are questionable? Does it mean that they are poor lawyers, or they are going to produce poor lawyers? It's so ridiculous. We call upon the Council of Higher Education, we call upon the Department of Higher Education to hear our view when we say this curriculum, this structure is so chaotic to an extent that it produces such ridiculous situations. When we say we want a decolonized education system and that is uniform across all universities, we mean to avoid things like this. This is an ongoing, it's frustrating our students who are currently enrolled LLB, or it's frustrating our new graduates, and we call for the immediate resolution of this matter. In fact, this reinforces our call for the decolonization of this curriculum. It is because of this chaos in our education system that we find ourselves with this kind of nonsense. Thanks, my friend.